Okay, you beautiful fandom, welcome back to the back of the semi-truck. Granted, I understand that this is not a normal video format, and technically y'all can't see the back of the semi-truck, but I'm back here anyway, so welcome back here to the back of the semi-truck with me as I record this audio. Okay, so let me go ahead and preface this by saying that this is my fourth time trying to record this because I've got this inability to run off of a script without sounding robotic, so I attempt to do everything off the cuff and off the script, but one of the troubles I do have is when I start rambling on about various subjects by accident, and sometimes I can go 15 minutes just on one thing. So what I did was stop recording and then took a few notes, and hopefully that keeps me on track. But if it doesn't keep me on track, I gave fair warning. So with that said, let's go ahead and jump into this and talk about what I feel like is a missed story opportunity that Rwby could have definitely handled so much more better than they did. And that missed story opportunity, in my opinion, is the way that they handled Jacques. And let me go ahead and first say, I am not going to miss Jacques in the slightest. I do not care that, Ironwood killed him or anything like that. But what I do care about is the fact that there is no closure for the whole abusive household story arc that they had going on this whole time. And personally, coming from an abusive household myself, I would have definitely liked seeing that Winter and Weiss and Whitney and Mama Snee actually got some closure, and even Klein to a certain degree got some closure from living in the abusive household that they lived in. And in order for this family to get that closure that they need, I believe that Jacques should have lived in order to progress this abusive household story arc that obviously is now going to be just cast by the wayside, because they built this abusive man up for so long, and now they can't really interact with him no more and show that they are stronger than him. And one of those interactions that I wanted to see was between him and Weiss, because Weiss is the sister out of Winter and her that said, we need to go back for him, because we do remember that Winter told her dad it wasn't my idea, it was Weiss's. So I think it should have clicked in his head at that moment that, oh my goodness, I'm a horrible person. My family, or at least one member of my family, being Winter, is willing to let me fall with Atlas and just die. And one of the added factors to if Jacques would have lived and his interaction with Weiss after this is the fact that we probably would have gotten at least some segments of him living with the guilt of knowing that he had at least one family member willing to come back for him, but once he got to Vacuo, he would have found out that she was one of the ones that fell into the void and is more than likely passed away, and then he would have had to live with the fact that he has nobody who cares for him. And that would have made for probably an emotional moment for him to have a groundbreaking realization that he's been a horrible person this whole time. Because in his eyes, he would then believe that he's got a daughter who was willing to come back for him even after all the bad things that he's done to her in her life. But he also feels like he can't make any type of amends with her due to the fact that he believes her to be dead now. And that kind of guilt would really weigh on somebody. And I would hope that that would be a turning point for him. And of course, if we have the aspect of him and the interactions that he could possibly have with Weiss, we also have the interactions that he could possibly have with Winter as well, because she's the daughter who was willing to just be like, you know what, Atlas is falling, Dad's in jail, who cares? We're going to let Atlas fall with Dad in jail, with Ironwood in jail, and we're not going to do anything to save him. And that is an interaction that I want to see as well, because Winter seemingly did not care about Jacques at all. And then on top of that, if he would have lived, would she have a good relationship with him after he starts feeling the guilt of everything he's done in his past? Would she have any sympathy for him? Or would we see an interaction between him and her, with her sitting back and saying, you know what? You are the one to blame for all of this. Because of all the politics that you wanted to play, you are the reason that Weiss is dead. You are the reason that we had to do all this. You are the reason for everything that is happening that is wrong in the world right now. Would Winter then blame him for everything? And that is a aspect that I think is just, oh my gosh, such a missed opportunity that Winter could have had with Jacques. And it boggles my mind why, Rwby did this. It just boggles my mind. And then, oh my goodness, we've got Whitney. And the more I sit back and think about Whitney, the more I can actually relate to him. Because when I was growing up, I kind of feel like I was a Whitney. Somebody who I had the opportunity to get out of a bad situation, and my sisters were out of it, and they were gone and out of the house. But I found a way to get back into the house with my parents. And I was young then. I didn't understand what was going on with everything. I didn't understand the abusive household that I was in. But I was left alone in that household as well, just like Whitney was left alone in this household. Don't get me wrong, we haven't honestly spent much time with Whitney to understand who he is as a character necessarily, but I'd like to see the interaction between him and Jacques as well, with Whitney becoming who he is as a person, and then now understands that he doesn't have to listen to this man who's doing all these wrong things. He doesn't have to just go along to get along, and he doesn't have to just sit back and take, the mental and or physical, because we don't know exactly if there was physical abuse or not. Granted, we do know there was physical abuse with Weiss, because we have seen Jacques hit Weiss before. But nonetheless, though, with Whitney, he's the son, and growing up, I may have remembered one time that I've had some physical abuse to me from my dad, but it wasn't nothing like what my sisters got. And that, I just empathize with Whitney so much more when I start thinking about it so much. It's just mind-boggling. I like to know the interactions. Would it be an interaction like I have with my dad now? Would it be interactions like he just ignores him, he hates him? I don't know. It is just such a missed story opportunity to get some closure on this flipping abuse, in my opinion. And then we got Mama Snee, and I just gotta ask myself, what kind of interactions are we missing out on just because they wanted to make a little bit of a joke by killing, Jacques the way that they did? And Mama Snee, she is out of the bedroom. I'm presuming she's gonna quit drinking and stuff like that. I don't know, maybe they'll handle it the same way that they handled Crow's alcoholism and not really show anything with it. They showed a little bit of Crow's alcoholism, don't get me wrong, but they didn't really hammer it the way that they needed to. Just like they ain't really hammering, Mama Snee's, alcoholism the way they needed to. But there again, I relate to, the family here, because I had alcoholic parents. I had a mother who was just like Mama Snee. Granted, we didn't have the money that they had, but I would have to stay up sleepless nights trying to keep my mom awake, from drinking so much, because I didn't want her to roll over the wrong way and stuff like that. And I just want to know, what kind of interactions are we going to have with Mama Snee now that she's out of the bedroom and she's standing on her own 2 feet, and she's not got this domineering man over top of her now, controlling her every move, and pretty much she's standing up for herself and doing we haven't really seen her stand up for herself, but for the most part, she's standing on her own 2 feet now. And I just want to know the interactions, because this is a man who hijacked the family name of the Snees for his own gain, and I like to see her just say, you know what? I'm the leader of this family now. You are nothing but an abusive jerk who needs to be put in his place. And I just want to see that interaction. And of course, then we got the interactions that once he does get the vacuo, he does have to deal with the people there and stuff like that. So there's some obvious interactions that he's going to have with them. And some of it could be funny, some of it could be enlightening and make him a better person for it. But for the most part, I'm not necessarily wanting him to be, redeemed or anything like that. Now, don't get me wrong, he isn't beyond redemption. He isn't Cinder. He isn't beyond redemption. And I am going to go ahead and say it. Cinder, beyond redemption. There is no redeeming her. She is done. She needs to she just needs to die. I'm just going to say that. But Jacques, he isn't beyond redemption. But if they could have kept him alive and did a story arc with him, they didn't necessarily need to redeem him. They could have had him go off, be homeless in the street, and everything that he did was because of his own doings and the way he treated his family. But even if they did decide to be like, you know what, we're going to turn him into a humble individual because he's learned his lesson and he's asked for forgiveness and he's groveled at their feet and all these various different things, I wouldn't mind that. I would not have minded seeing that kind of closure or even any other type of closure. I just personally would have rather see them show Jacques interacting with his family and letting his family, if I can get words out of my mouth, find closure in the whole situation as well, because that could help a lot of people if it's done the right way. And other than that, I guess I'm gonna pass it off to y'all. What do y'all think about this? I understand some of it was a bit rambly and stuff like that, but I hate working off of scripts. It doesn't come off as natural for me, so I'm just doing what comes natural and just running my mouth and sharing what I believe is a very much missed story opportunity for Rwby and all the folks that work on Rwby. So, like I said, I'm going to pass it off to y'all. Y'all know the drill from here. Hit that like, tickle to subscribe. Don't be texting and driving. And as Mr. Rogers always says,
and I like you as you are. I do.